welcome to Yoga for Cyclists. So this is going to be a really great post-ride cool down, hitting all those target spots, the quads, the hamstrings, even the ankles, the shoulders, the back, literally everything. I'm a registered dietitian and a yoga teacher, and I work primarily with athletes, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is again going to be, you want to make sure that you're like showered off, or at least kind of get the sweat off, because we are going to be kind of rock and roll a little bit everywhere. You will need a strap, and if you have a block like this guy right here, that would be fantastic. If you don't have a block, you can always stack a couple of books, or I'll give you a couple options if you don't have either of those things, and you can take that instead. So first, come on to hands and knees. So hands and knees, separate your fingers nice and wide and evenly. Point your index finger straight ahead, and then tuck your toes. So a lot of times when your shoes are when your feet are in the shoes, they kind of don't give a lot of space to breathe into those toes. So tuck your toes, just get a little bit of a toe stretch, and then start to lengthen your chest forward, lowering your belly, lifting your hips. Exhale, round. Inhale, broaden, bow forward. Lift the hips and exhale round. So this starts to get just a little bit of spinal movement, which is really important. If you've been riding for a long time, that spine can get kind of tense and tight. So the spine's just a bit more mobility in those joints. Good. And then from here, have a seat on your feet with the toes curled under. This is called Thunderbolt. And then if you've been riding for a long time, your hands might be a little bit tight, so you're going to interlace your fingers and then press your thumbs together and stretch your arms up overhead. Interlace all the way to the webbing. Push your fingers, your index finger higher, squeeze your thumbs together more, take your ribs back, let your hips be super heavy, work your knees down. Breathe here. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, come up. I know that's a lot. And then just kind of shake your feet out after that one. Good. Stepping back to downward facing dog. So in down dog, your hands are slightly wider than your shoulders, and then your hamstrings are likely super tight. So bend your knees a lot to tilt your pelvis up. Move your low ribs and thighs closer together. Bend your knees a lot and make sure that your second toe and heel are in one line. So sometimes your heel likes to come in a bit. And we're just going to pedal out our feet, getting into the calves and the Achilles and your ankles. Breathe deeply. Lower knees down to the neck. And then step your right foot forward, lower down to a low lunge. So front knee and ankle are in one line. Squeeze your legs towards each other. This is going to get into that back quad and hip flexor. This also helps to stabilize your front ankle and work on those just a bit. Good. Inhale, you can stay, or arms overhead. And then lower your hands down, frame your front foot, curl your toes back towards your face, and get just a little hamstring stretch. And you may need to do that a few times as, again, you work those hamstrings a lot, and they would be super duper tight. And instead of rounding a lot, can you think about pulling your shoulders away from your ears? Send your sternum forward as you tilt your pelvis back. Breathe deeply. Inhale, come forward, and as you exhale, twist open. So if you've been sitting in the same position on the bike for a long time, this is a really good spinal rotation. Hug your legs towards each other. Inhale, as you exhale, turn your toes parallel, lengthen your chest forward. If the earth is really far away, you can always bring hands to that block we had talked about, or a book. And then exhale, fold, hinging at your hips. If it feels nice, you can kind of rock a little side to side, get into those inner thighs just a bit. This is also a really great way to lower your heart rate. And then start to spin everything in the opposite direction. So you're coming into that low lunge on the opposite side. Again, you can stay as you are or sweep your arms up overhead. Stay here for a few breaths and then exhale, take your leg back And inhale, draw it forward. Exhale it back. And inhale forward. Again, a few times just to get a little bit of that mobility, and then hold on that last one. Breathe into your hamstring, draw your shoulders away from your ears. Soften your jaw. Inhale, come to center. As you exhale, right hand down in line with your foot and spin your left arm open. Twist, draw your right rib cage closer to your left thigh. Relax your shoulders down, breathe. And then exhale, start to again turn your toes, actually come all the way onto your back and keep that block close by. Bring your block right underneath your sacrum, which is your big bony part. And if you don't have a block, you can also use a foam roller. That works really well here, as well as again a padded blanket. We're going to come into supported bridge, which is really good if you've been working a lot on the bike, and to open up the hip flexors, the quads, and also to give your low back some relief. If you don't have any of those items, you can always come up just into bridge. You're going to get a similar benefit, but you're going to be doing more work. If you're coming up either way, your gaze stays straight up towards the ceiling. Push down through the inner edge of your feet and either slide that block underneath your sacrum or push down through your feet, push into your head. Inhale, lift hips. If you're coming into full bridge, interlace your hands behind your back. Maybe walk your shoulder blades closer together. We're going to be here for 5 breaths. If you need to come out if you're in bridge, do so. Otherwise, if you're in supported bridge, stay, or play with walking your legs out a little bit more or all the way. And again, get further release for those hip flexors and quads. Breathe for 3. Relax for 2. Settle into it for 1. Good. And then if you don't have, so lower down if you're on or just a normal bridge, and come onto the floor, and then take your legs up on a nearby wall. If you have that block or that foam roller or those books, you're just going to take your feet and point them straight up towards the ceiling. So your legs just did a crap ton of work for you, and there's a lot of lactic acid that got built up, that overuse. A lot of times we think about how we can overuse our quads a lot cycling, and actually in our IT band too, every time you have that pedal stroke going down, your IT band rubs on the outside part of your kneecap here. And so if you think about how many strokes you're doing every single mile, every single hour, that's a lot of repetition and it can get really kind of jammed up. So I always like to foam roll after any kind of bike ride or any kind of run, anything that has repetition to it. But certainly even doing yoga will be helpful, especially a pose like this. If you have time for one pose, do this, because what this is going to do is help take away all those toxins and help kind of remove the lactic acid, increase blood flow, and get some new supply to those tissues. You can even point your feet, flex your feet, make little circles, whatever feels good here. And if you're on the wall, you can again work your heel up and then point it down. And if you don't have a wall close by, if you have a chair, you can rest your shins on the chair seat. Lots of options here. So, no excuses is what that means. Take just a couple more breaths. So we did a little bit of the quads, and again, if you need to hold some of those poses longer or come back to them, you totally can. Get into those hammies just a bit. And then we have the hip flexors, the ankles, the feet. And now we're going to get into the actual outer hip a bit more. So come off of your block or slide away from the wall. And then cross your left ankle over your right thigh. And you want to cross it enough to where your ankle bone will go over your thigh bone. Meaning, because what happens if your foot's like this, your foot's gonna sickle in and that leaves your knee very vulnerable. So we wanna push it over all the way and flex your foot, flat your toes, start to finish. Reach up, catch behind your hamstring, and then pull that leg in. And as you pull your right thigh in, work your left knee away from you, working your low back close to the ground. Close your eyes. And if your thigh is not accessible, meaning you're just so tight that that's just not even happening, just cross your ankle over your thigh and use your left hand to push your knee forward, and that'll help a bit as well. Steady the breath and unhinge your jaw. Release that foot down, cross sides. So cross your right ankle on top, and this side might be different, especially if you are right-sided dominant. So maybe you just stay here, work your right hand forward, flex your foot, flare your toes, and then reach up and interlace. You can work your right knee forward and down, not even your knee, it's more like your femur bone, your thigh bone. So push your thigh bone forward as you pull your left knee closer. Steady the breath. And then relax it down. So again, one of the other things that cyclists need to kind of try and focus on post-run is a spinal rotation. So tap your toes down, lift your hips up, shift them to the right, and then lower your knees to the left. Use your left hand to help guide your knees further down, and then take your right arm out to a T or pitchfork. Look up or over that right shoulder. Relax your right rib cage. Inhale, center. Exhale, tap your toes down, swing your hips up and over to the left. Your knees go to the right. And same options here. Use your right hand to help guide your knees down and maybe even push your head down. Rotate your rib cage more to the left and then look up or over your left shoulder. Big breath in. Big breath out. This helps to unwind your low back and even your mid and upper back from some sort of being in that similar position. We're also opening our shoulder up from being in that hunched position. If you want a little more shoulder mobility, you can always do some really big circles with that arm, but a lot of times I just like to hang out here. Inhale, center, and then exhale, hug your knees in towards your chest, lengthening out your low back. Reach up through the center line, catch the outer edge of your feet, pull your knees to your outer rib cage for a happy baby. And if your feet are not accessible, reach up and catch, like still to the center, and then catch your outer shin. And then still use that same action of using your arms to pull your knees towards your outer rib cage. And then release your feet down. Extend your feet all the way out. And then bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly, or both hands to your belly. And take a deep breath in, fill this space up. So a lot of times when you're hunched over on the bike, this belly area does not get a lot of breath and does not get a lot of oxygen. So we're going to take 3 big breaths in this space right now. So inhale, fill it up. Fill up upper chest, upper back, and your entire belly. Big exhale, let it go. 2 more times like that. Fill it from the tip of your tailbone up through low belly, mid belly, low chest, upper chest, and then exhale, release. And inhale, fill it up. Hold at the top. Sip in a little more breath. A little bit more. A little bit more. This is how you increase your lung capacity, increase your endurance. Hold it. And then big exhale, let it go. Stay here for as long as you need. This is where all of the work can really seep in after your workout, after your ride. If it was a really long ride or a really tough ride, you can always take legs up the wall, and that's going to give you a little bit more of that relief. And drop everything into the mat. And then roll to the left. Come up to a comfortable seat. And come back to this practice as often as you need after every ride. And until we meet again, namaste.